So how do you know when one is operating in fear versus discernment?
Look at the fruit.
The fruit speaks.
The fruit speaks. Fear leads to doubt, leads to procrastination, leads to imposter syndrome. If I'm speaking to someone who is using I'm waiting on God, I ask questions. What was the last thing God told you to do? Okay, have you done that? And usually it's a no. Let's go ahead and do that. But then you really start to hear the fruit of their lips. I'm afraid. I don't want to be seen. I don't want to show up. I'm afraid to post on LinkedIn because I don't want my past colleagues to see me. Pride.
Right. Welcome to the Evolution of a Rose podcast, where we are obsessing over being and becoming our best and higher selves. I'm your host, Meline Rose, and if you're new here, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, especially if you love and enjoy intentional and growth-minded conversations. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back to the Evolution. Today, we are joined by a very special guest, a woman who combines purpose with strategy. She is a career and purpose coach who has built a reputation for helping high-achieving women maximize their earning power, accelerate their career outcomes, and translate their expertise into purpose-aligned income.
Yes.
Her ethos, empowering women to move with clarity, confidence, and divine authority. Miss, we don't hustle over here. We align. Okay? Welcome to the Evolution, Krista.
Thank you so much for having me. It really is an honor and a pleasure. We were just talking, I'm an introvert naturally, so this is all out of my comfort zone, but I love it. I'm happy to be here.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for stepping out of your comfort zone. That's what the evolution is all about, stepping out of your comfort zone to continue to evolve.
That's it.
And I want to know, for you, are you in a season where you are learning to trust yourself, prove yourself, or choose yourself?
Ooh, this is so good. Trust, choose, or prove. Okay, that's a really good question, because I struggle with trusting and proving myself. And I've had to trade proving myself for proving God, proving God's grace, because my natural inclinations wouldn't allow me to be doing the things that I do. But it is the trust in God that I know He called me.
Amen.
That Esther call, where He prepares you and then platforms you. And suddenly you're thrust into a situation where you have a lot of influence and a lot of eyes on you. And trusting myself will get me in trouble every single time. But trying to prove myself will burn me out. So trading off the proving myself for proving God has been my secret weapon lately.
I love that. So proving yourself to God that you are capable.
That's it. That's it. Rather than trying to strive and hustle to prove myself and prove my worth, prove that I am worthy, proving that what I believe or what God has told me is true about myself, proving that my God identity, I believe it. So what does that mean? It means waking up and doing the content. It means making myself visible for the opportunity, saying yes when I would normally say no, because I believe that God called me. So trading proving myself for proving God and what He said about me. Yeah.
In terms of proving yourself to God that you're capable.
Sure.
You come from the corporate world.
Yeah.
You then decided to evolve into the next phase of your journey by becoming a full-time entrepreneur.
Yes.
What has that transition been like?
Okay, it has been a wild ride. I like to tell the joke that I got kicked out of corporate. 2 layoffs in 1 year.
Oh.
I used to...
2 layoffs in 1 year. So you had the corporate job, you got laid off, then you went to another job, then got laid off.
In the same year. So when something like that happens, after I had 16 years of experience in HR at that time, when something like that happens, especially for an accomplished woman where we've got the degrees, we went to the best institutions, we've got the certifications and all of that, we have a tendency to wrap our identity up in that sort of thing. And so to be kicked out of corporate, laid off twice from 2 tech companies during that big 2022 tech bust that happened, the mass layoffs, finding myself kind of reeling and saying, okay, if I'm no longer this HR manager, this senior leader, who am I? And more importantly, what is this signaling to me? I'll tell you what one podcaster said recently. If you ever want to learn how to trust God, become an entrepreneur. Okay? Because it is a wild ride. It's a roller coaster. You have some very high highs and some very low lows. But I wouldn't trade it for the world, because even in my lowest low, I know that this is what I'm meant to be doing. I know if you're looking at the fruit of the situation, I know and I see on a daily basis the impact of my yes to God. And that's what matters to me.
And I think that says a lot about your confidence. I think it says a lot about your faith to have been laid off twice in 1 year. In that moment, one would feel defeated. You know, one would feel defeated. And honestly, some people would continue to find another job, another corporate job. But instead, what you did was you took a moment to reflect and say, okay, God, what are you telling me right now? What are you telling me right now? Are you telling me this is the path that I should go? How has that been for you? Just surrendering, learning the art of surrender.
Ooh, and I'm glad you asked that. And I know this is a Holy Spirit thing, because God has been teaching me recently the difference between striving, trying to get things done, hustle up and do everything I can do, and surrendering. What does that look like in real time? That has been a major recurring lesson for me. And it goes through seasons where I'm like, all right, God, whatever you say, yes, Lord. And then other times where I feel like I'm white knuckling it. Because up until this point, up until entrepreneurship, I struggled with control issues.
We all do.
We all do.
As high achieving women, we all do.
That's it.
Yeah, learning to let go.
Learning to let go and release. But also, because up until this point, we've been able to make calculated, strategic moves to get us to where we are. So you learn how to trust in your own strategy. But when there's a measure of faith that is required to follow God on a daily basis, being able to surrender is the secret sauce, because there are things that God and the Holy Spirit will lead you to that you would never see on your own. So surrender is a major part of the strategy. God, what do you want me to be doing right now? Step by step, baby stepping it out, walking it out and just kind of landing where God wants me to land. Yeah.
You talk about how becoming an entrepreneur has softened you. And I understand the sentiment, but I'm like, how? Because to your point, entrepreneurship, it takes a lot of personal development.
Yes.
You know, it's a lot of personal work. And sometimes that's not sexy, but for you, it has softened you.
Yes.
I wonder what that means and looks like for you.
That's a perfect question coming after the last question, surrender. Because when you are an entrepreneur, especially in today's market, the market is only responding to alignment. Truly, on a spiritual level, you will find that things that you used to do in the past that, helped you achieve success, they're just not working right now. And it's leaving a lot of people reeling. But when I think about how it has softened me, after 16, at this point, 18 years in HR, you think about what that profession requires, that you follow things by the letter of the law. And I did not like who I became over time and who HR and the C-suite would require me to be successful in that environment. It rewarded the very worst parts of me, for me specifically, being performance driven, being unfeeling, having to lay off people and terminate people in a treacherous market, watching them cry, having to terminate people and colleagues who had grown to be my friend. I just knew I wasn't cut out for that long term. And so, but if I can be honest, relationship wise, I lost, and I'm being more vulnerable than I've ever been. I lost a relationship that I valued because romantic relationship, because of how I was showing up in the relationship. If corporate reinforces competition, being immovable and unpersuaded, and being a rule follower, if you will, taking that into a romantic relationship is just never going to work. You got to be flexible. And that's one thing that I learned. And when I say I lost it, it was meant to go.
Yeah.
But That was the learning lesson.
Just reflection as to how you could have shown up better.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So is there anything that you would have done differently after reflecting in terms of just being a now softer woman?
Yes. Here's what I will say. And the turn really came for me post-pandemic when we saw a lot of loss, people losing their loved ones, and then deciding that what was most important to me. These relationships that are keeping me when we're all quarantined and holed up in our house, these colleagues that I was seeing normally on an everyday basis, they're not floating me through this time. They're not helping me overcome isolation and loneliness as a single woman. And then discovering and identifying what really was keeping me afloat, it was the relationships. And then how am I stewarding those relationships if they are so important to me? How am I stewarding those relationships? And that led me on a path to focusing on relationship stewardship. Yeah.
That's good. And you speak about the quarantining in 2020, COVID, and how that was its own shift.
Yes.
And honestly, now in 2026, I feel as though we are experiencing another shift.
Yes.
I mean, it's not the same, but there is a shift happening in the corporate world, in the economy. I wonder, what would you tell every woman in regards to how she should be operating in this economy professionally?
Yes. What a wonderful question, because I think what best kind of sums up my thoughts on this, I say this often, a woman who doesn't panic in a market like this is a woman who has options. So creating optionality for yourself, as many levers to pull to maximize your earning potential, create income earning streams for yourself, monetizing your expertise outside of outdated systems. When you see the corporate structure that has been pushing out women of color, Black women, especially so aggressively, the name of the game is options. Never, ever put yourself in a situation where you've got only one stream of income, and that you're relying on a system who has proven that it is ready to axe you when it's convenient for them.
When it's convenient for them, yeah.
That's it. So optionality, be flexible, and look for the unconventional, purpose-driven profit pathway. Because again, right now, the market is specifically and only responding to alignment and purpose alignment.
So you talk a lot about that, purpose and alignment, and ultimately purpose-driven work.
Yes.
How does one find that, especially when they've already been indoctrinated to, corporate world and working a 9-to-5, and then having to be thrusted into entrepreneurship?
Yes.
How does one find their purpose-driven and aligned work?
This is so good. And I think I'm going to say two things on this. And we've all heard this, where you turn your pain into your purpose.
Yeah.
Pastor Torrey Roberts, married to Sarah Jakes Roberts, he said something years ago when I used to attend his church in Los Angeles. He said, God will give you a glimpse of who he's called you to be by the giants that he places in front of you to slay.
Oh,
shout out to Pastor Torrey.
That's good. God will give you glimpses of who you're supposed to be by the giants he places in front of you to slay.
That's it. All along, all through the path of your life, every up, every down, every high, every accomplishment, every low, is signaling to you. It's a divine signal from God saying, I'm preparing you for your ultimate work. So my work as a purpose coach, I think that's so unique that I am a purpose coach, because it's not enough to be a career coach anymore. If you're not aligning that purpose with that career, you will find yourself lost or forfeiting your destiny for something that is profitable, but you've sold your soul over to it. How many of us have found ourselves in moments where we're like, who have I become?
Yeah.
It's not worth it. The money's not worth it. And so God will give you glimpses of who he's called you to be by these giants that you're forced to slay through life experience. And ultimately, your life becomes the blueprint and kind of the teaching point, the cornerstone for how you're set to prepare other people coming up behind you.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Whew, that was good. And that was good. With that being said, do you truly believe that women can forge a path for themselves that is deeply aligned while also making a sustainable income Do you think that's fully possible for women?
Absolutely. And here's why. Because, and you actually said this at the beginning, we don't hustle, we align. Alignment and purpose alignment, divine alignment unlocks an ease to the process that you just can never get. You can't get another degree to unlock a certain level of purpose. So yes, I do believe that that's absolutely true. And I think it's the secret sauce to creating sustainable income for yourself that no one can take away from you. When you're locked into your purpose, there are people who will even, if I can be honest, there are people who borrow my content on a regular basis, but there's no grace and anointing on it, and you can feel it.
You can tell the difference.
You can tell the difference.
Because it's in you, not on you.
That's it. It's in you. Yeah.
And I asked that question, honestly, for myself, because from an early age, I decided that I wanted to live a life that felt good to me. I wanted to live a life that felt fulfilling to me based on my standards. So I took an unconventional path. And now that I'm in my 30s, I find myself asking, is this dream too far-fetched? You know, is it too far-fetched? Is it possible that I can absolutely create a life that feels absolutely good to me and also earn an income where I can actually thrive off of, you know?
You are nailing it, and you are the type of woman that I work with on a regular basis, because that feeling, our emotions are our compass, if you will. They are guiding lights. God, of course, is our North Star, if you're a believer. And your emotions, your feelings, that feeling of ease, that peace of the Lord, the peace that surpasses all understanding, I tend to use those as my compass. If I feel uneasy about this, it gives me pause. But if this is like, whoo, I can breathe, I feel like more of myself, go for it. So if you're battling between, is this possible and is it not? Yes, it's absolutely possible. But what are you willing to do? What are you willing to sacrifice to achieve it? Yeah.
And I wonder what that looks like, because a lot of people, when we talk about the business of being her, many of us do not talk about what it takes to be her. Many of us do not talk about what it takes to live the fulfilling life, you know, to live one that is purposeful and aligned. So what does the work look like?
What does the work look like? It looks like, especially as an entrepreneur, to thine own self be true. Knowing your strengths, knowing your gaps, and hiring to fill those gaps, or taking the steps to develop yourself in those areas. Because entrepreneurship, your business is a direct reflection of who you are and who you're called to be. And every day it's like looking into a mirror like, ooh, I didn't close the way I should have. I should have rehearsed that a little bit. I should have prepared a little bit more, took some notes, or whatever it is. So it really is a constant cycle of self-development. It will never be spot on. And here's one thing that I think is important. We as accomplished women often conflate perfection with excellence. That's a spiritual battle that I coach women through on a regular basis, and that I coach myself through, or God coaches me through, whatever you want to say there. And my mentors coach me through, because perfection is subjective. It changes on a daily basis.
It does.
And so striving for perfection will always keep you in a cycle of self-disappointment. Whereas if you strive for excellence, this is good by anyone's standard. On the worst day, it's good, it's excellent. Perfection, you could do something that you thought was perfect today. Next year, you'd be like, cringe.
That's not
what it was. That's not what it was. Delete that. Delete. So striving for excellence from what you have to pour out and give right now, that's the key to success, and just kind of self-management, keeping yourself ever evolving.
That's good. I love the fact that you emphasized excellence, because that's where I am right now. My theme for the year is commitment to excellence, because to your point, perfection, that fluctuates, you know, but excellence, there's a standard in which you uphold for yourself to show up, you know? So I love the fact that you said that.
That's good, girl.
Yes,
I love it.
I want to talk about money and taking action. So you say something, you have this term or statement where you cannot reap where you have not sown. You talk a lot about that and why no one is willing to pay your rate, right? What does that mean for you exactly? What does it mean for a high achieving woman to, so in essence, not benefit from where she have not sown, and that's why she's not attracting high paying clients?
This is so good because client relationship, it's all relational. It's all, relationship based. And I do want to make a slight adjustment because, if we're being biblically sound, there are opportunities based on God's grace where you can reap where you haven't sown. However, if we're thinking about what the norm is, you have to sow before you sell. You have to spend the time sowing the seeds, or at least scattering the seeds, putting yourself out there enough so people know who you are. They know what the value is that you add, and they're willing to pay it without question. And so one of the things I look at, especially when a new client comes to me, if she's having conversion challenges, she's posting all the content, doing the outreach, and no one is signing up with her, or people are hemming and hawing about her rate, the price. Yeah. In my mind, either she's selling to the wrong audience, or we need to look at her value alignment. We need to be thinking about, how are you sewing? How are you showing up? How are you proving that you add value? And then we talk about conversion from there.
So for you, when you talk about not reaping where you haven't sown, you're more so saying that it's about positioning?
That's it. Okay. It's about positioning, but it's also about, I'll give you an example. So when I work with women who are in career transitions and they're in this extended job search, oftentimes one thing that I will recommend, just kind of following practical strategy, but also spiritual strategy, is start volunteering. Start volunteering in the arena, start showing up in the arenas where you want to attract and extract value from there. It's like a bank account. I'm going to throw it to Cat Williams, where he mentioned during a sit-down interview where he was saying that he's very generous in what he gives and how he donates and how he provides his resources, because he knows that life has a spiritual bank account. And it's hard to extract where you haven't deposited. It's hard to reap where you haven't sown. And so you have to be in a constant state or constant balance of giving. And so oftentimes, and there are a lot of creators that do this, whether they believe in God or not, they will often, if they're not seeing enough income coming in, they will start overgiving. Free masterclass, free workshop, free this and free that, because there is a spiritual balance. And it's not a perfect science. All I know is that it works. And that will usually be the number one thing that I recommend. Start showing up, start giving free workshops, master classes to add value, and then work on extracting and pulling in the right aligned clients from there.
That's good. That's good. So planting the seed of adding value first before you ask for something in return.
That's it.
Yes.
That's it.
That's good. Is prayer a strategy? Because I feel as though a lot of women, they hide behind prayer. They hide behind waiting on God before they can actually take action. Yes. What do you think about that?
Short answer is absolutely, prayer is a strategy. And it is the secret weapon. I say this all the time as someone who spends a lot of time on content creation and being on platforms. Anointing beats algorithm every single time. The Holy Spirit is your secret weapon, because there's divine downloads and foresight that you will get. I'm a dreamer. So that's how God speaks to me, very vivid dreams. And I'm like, oh, all right, sir. Yes, sir. Let me get to, executing this. Let me get to work. Let me execute. Because and especially if it doesn't make sense for the time, because God's track record, you look at the Bible, you just look at how he's dealt with us in our individual lives. The things that don't make sense right now, it's God setting you up, setting your future generations up for future success. It shouldn't make sense. You should feel a little loopy, a little crazy. And that's usually how you know that you're on to something, because God is collapsing timelines to get you years ahead of the rest of the market. So yes, prayer is a strategy. And I would recommend that anyone, especially entrepreneurs, lean aggressively into their prayer life. Absolutely.
Yes. Prayer is a strategy. Absolutely. But I feel as though sometimes we overpray in the name of not doing the work.
Yes.
So how do you know when one is operating in fear versus discernment?
You are nailing something so important. I say, look at the fruit.
The fruit speaks.
The fruit speaks, and it is undeniable because you think about fear comes in a cocktail of spiritual warfare. Fear leads to doubt, leads to procrastination, leads to imposter syndrome. And so I will always just, if I'm speaking to someone who is using the I'm waiting on God kind of tactic, I ask questions. Okay, waiting on God. What was the last thing God told you to do? Okay, have you done that? And usually it's a no. All right, well, let's go ahead and do that. But then you really start to hear the fruit of their lips. You know what? I'm afraid. I actually am afraid.
Yeah.
I don't want to be seen. I don't want to show up. I'm afraid to post on LinkedIn. This is a big one. I'm afraid to post on LinkedIn because I don't want my past colleagues to see me. Or I don't want them to see that I'm still looking for my next opportunity. Pride. Ego.
Yeah.
And so you just look at the fruit and then you know, and then you can coach or guide someone out of that if they're willing to be honest with you. Yeah.
So you talk about being pretty on purpose and using your pretty privilege as leverage.
Yes.
Explain to me that framework in your business.
This is so good, and Pretty on Purpose is my baby, so I'm glad that you brought this up. It really came to me through one of those divine downloads, 3 a.m. wake up call.
It's always in the middle of the night.
And you're like, oh, right now, God, yes. But it came to me because I grew up in a very healthy environment as it relates to my relationship with my mother and my 3 older sisters. So a house full of women, we have very healthy relationships with each other. We are best friends. And therefore, I have a very healthy relationship with the beauty of it all. I don't mind saying that. Your girl got it. But then God really walked me through this as it relates to social media. Okay, God, this was my prayer. You packaged me in this way. You already know I don't like the spotlight. What do you intend for this? And then from there, God led me on a journey through the Bible, Bible characters, both men and women, where the Bible very explicitly outlines that they were good to look at. People, they found favor because they were attractive. That's it. People got all excited. Esther being one of them. So Pretty on Purpose really just follows kind of the journey of Esther, where it was a year, she went through a year of preparation. What I like to say is that during her time, when that king was looking for a new queen, he drew in all the baddies into the kingdom.
But she stood out.
And she stood out. Why? Because she had strategy. She had wisdom. She sought out counsel. And that allowed her to do what I call make your moment, where she was able to go in there. She understood the nature of the king, what he responded well to. And then also God showed me what beauty was actually meant for. It's meant to disarm. It's meant to get ease of access into some otherwise closed doors, get you into some decision-making opportunities where other people just wouldn't have access to. And then it led me down the path of understanding what else is out there in the market. There are some creators, coaches, who will encourage a beautiful woman to finesse. That her beauty, the long and short of it, is to finesse people out of their resources. So I'm saying that lightly. But God showed me on a spiritual, God-driven, divine level, what does it really mean to be a God-fearing woman who is gorgeous, stunning, just like you, girl, and maximizing everything that we should do, if we're reflections of God, should draw the attention in and reflect right back to God. So how can I use this to draw in the attention? How can I teach other women how to steward beauty in a way that gets God the glory? That's Pretty on Purpose.
Love that. How can women do that without being manipulative?
Ooh.
You know, because many people would see that as manipulation.
Yeah. I think a good rule to kind of live by as a good-looking woman is, can God trust you to cover rather than consume? Can he trust you to cover a territory rather than consume all of the opportunities and the resources for yourself? That's a heart check that we have to go through on a regular basis, that I have to go through. Can God trust that he can send opportunities to you and through you? Maybe this opportunity isn't for me. Maybe this connection isn't for me, but it is for so-and-so. That's perfect for her. Can I, as lucrative as it might be, can God trust that I will release it, make that connection and move on? Can God trust you to cover rather than consume?
That's good. That's good. So who is it about, in essence?
That's it.
Yeah. So I want to talk about being strategic in love, because you also spoke about Esther and how she sort of positioned herself. And in your work, you talk about being strategic or having to be strategic in love as high achieving woman.
Yes.
But honestly, that doesn't come naturally
Yes.
for most women, even myself. I'm actually just learning that the importance of positioning myself.
Yes.
And I wonder, I guess, what does that look like exactly? Because I'm someone who still feels or still believes in the fairy tale. I want love to happen naturally. I want to be walking down the street somewhere and he sees the love of his life and he decides to marry me then and there. Right. That's the love story. He saw me, love at first sight, boom, boom, boom. I want things to happen naturally. But I do realize that in love, just like in any other thing in life, you have to be strategic, so I wonder what positioning yourself or being strategic in love looks like.
And this is something that I've had to learn too, and I'm still learning, because again, I'm a natural introvert. I'd rather just, be doing my thing, laying out at the beach or whatever it is that I'm doing. But it really is, God gave me this. Visibility solves everything. If you're willing to say yes to whatever the purpose is, whatever your purpose is, and position yourself strategically. If I know I want this kind of man, this kind of partner, where is that man likely to be? Let me scurry on over there. Let me get into those tech conferences. Let me get over into the fundraising arena, the philanthropy, healthcare conferences and things like that. Let me get where that man is likely to be. And then let me just showcase who I am. Let me be willing to do my part. That's really what it boils down to. Have I done everything that I can to get myself in a position to be found, for the fairy tale to find us, right?
That's good. Yeah, that's good, because he's honestly most likely isn't going to show up at your front door, so you have to get outside and be in the spaces that you want to be in order to, attract the people that you want to be around.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. So going back to what you were saying earlier about having that identity shift when you left corporate, and in your work, you also teach women to detach from, the success of their career.
Yes.
And, finding their identity in other things.
Yes.
What does that look like?
It's a process. And even now, I find it, and I'm 3 years into entrepreneurship at this point, full-time entrepreneurship. It's a constant cycle of breaking of the ego. Because I do find myself sometimes saying, you know what, I know God is leading me toward this opportunity, but I'm Krista Witherspoon and this and that and that. But it really is an understanding of who God has called you to be. Once you get aligned with your God-given purpose, once you really settle on what that is, it becomes very easy to make that identity shift. I won't say easy. It becomes easier to make the identity shift, because it's like, okay, what served me in corporate, because we're not going to throw all of that good experience away. It taught us to be and strive for that excellence that we were talking about. But what are the unfruitful aspects of that? Peeling back the onion. You know what? I don't need this layer anymore. I don't need this tool in my toolbox. Being willing to retool yourself for the present time. And then maybe you go back and you pick up those tools once again if you need to be a little more aggressive or whatever it is. But resituating yourself in your God-given identity, it's a spiritual battle. And the enemy will use imposter syndrome to keep you bound up. If I'm not in corporate America, getting these performance reviews, getting the raises that all signal that we're worthy of something, who is now here to tell me that I'm doing a good job?
Yeah. I actually want to add to that. You're right, because society tells us that what brings us value is, the family, the children, having, I guess, that sort of life, the classic life of being a wife, or what being womanly looks like, right?
Yes.
But most high achieving women, they find, because some of them aren't there yet, that's where the value comes from, at least having the accomplishments in said career path,
so good,
if they have yet to accomplish the other things that society says makes them a woman.
That's good.
So I can understand the difficulty in that identity, or detaching from that identity if they have not yet reached those milestones.
Yes.
So I wonder, for those women, what do you say to them in terms of who they are?
That's good.
Yeah.
Start measuring who you are and who you're called to be by lives impacted. How many lives have you positively impacted or helped to change? That's the new performance metrics. That's the new KPI. When you are making that identity shift, getting over imposter syndrome, embarking out on your own entrepreneurial endeavors, how many lives can you positively impact? That right there, for me at least, is proof enough that I am who I think I am.
Yeah, period.
That period,
Yes,
right?
you
That
are
I
who you
am.
say you are.
That's it. That's all the proof I need. And I would recommend that you make that your new life KPI. How many lives can I positively impact?
Yeah, that's good. We also, as high achieving women, don't place enough value in the other relationships that we have in our lives and the places that we are being impactful. So I love the fact that you said that that's something that we should pull out of ourselves. Like, who am I impacting?
That's it.
That's really good.
That's it. Let's call it impact mining. You're mining, one, for God's glory, but mining for impact. How can I make more positive impact? If we're thinking about pretty on purpose, how can I use the gift of attraction, the gift of gab, the yapping? How can I turn that into impact? How can I get more impact out of this life, out of what I'm doing, out of my work?
So good. Yeah. So, Krista.
Yes, ma'am.
We are in the business of being her. Finish this sentence.
Okay.
The business of being her requires
Audacity.
Oh, yes.
Audacity. A willingness to make the bold move. To make the bold move regardless of how you feel.
Yeah.
I know that this will get the impact that we're seeking. Let me go after it full force. Make the bold move. It really is the game changer.
That's good. Make the bold move. Yeah. And we really need to have more audacity, you know? I love that. I love that. This is so good. So lastly, I want to know, you're a coach.
Yes.
Impacting the lives of many women.
Yes.
And I believe that every great coach needs her own coach or her own motivator.
Yes.
What does that look like for you, or who is that for you?
This is so good. Here's one thing that I will share, and I want to give a shout out to my beautiful mother, Krista Witherspoon. She was, before she retired, a very successful entrepreneur. And I come from a long line of entrepreneurs. So when I think about who I lean into for that self-development and guidance, my mother is one. But then I also have, and this is something that's been popularized recently, creating my own board of executives. In my personal life, women who I lean on for finance. One of my best friends is a CPA.
That's good.
One of my friends has a long career in customer service. Okay, how can I work on client management, things like that? Really filling in my gaps and bringing those women in and having constant dialogue for the self-check. Because I have a tendency to get really focused, laser focused, tunnel vision. And so creating that board of directors for your life, that is where I draw my source of self-improvement.
That's good. That's good. We all need a board of directors.
Yes.
You know, that's good.
Yes.
Well, Krista, this was an amazing conversation. I have so much more to ask you, but unfortunately we are out of time, but I will be giving you a call soon.
Please, let's talk soon. I love this. Thank you for having me.
This was so good. This was so good. Where can the people follow you? Or find you?
Absolutely. The people can find me across all social media platforms at @Coach Chris with a K.
Yes, Chris with a K.
That's it.
Yes. Well, thank you so much again for joining the Evolution. If you enjoyed this conversation, again, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and click that notification bell so that when we post our episodes, you are the first to be notified. Thank you all so much for joining another episode of the Evolution of a Rose. Until next time.